Hello there, this video is 10 things you may not have known about the Slow-Mo Guys. I was going to title it 10 things you didn't know about the Slow-Mo Guys. But how do I know what you know? You might have some of this knowledge already. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. We'll hear about them at the end. Back in August of 2010 when we shot our first batch of videos, we didn't actually have a name for the channel yet. And there's footage of us deciding the name of the YouTube channel while we're filming the first video.
We could have also a little bit of banter about the name of it.
Throughout prep for the first batch of videos, we were referring to it as the Slow-Mo Show.
Alright, let's just do a rehearsal then. Alright, well, welcome to this new show. Yeah, Slow-Mo Show. We're the Slow-Mo Guys. Yeah. Really? So it's the Slow-Mo Show and we're the Slow-Mo Guys. Yep, best we get. I was like, this is the Slow-Mo Show. You'd be like, really? Right. And I'll be like, really? And you'd be like, and we're the Slow-Mo Dudes. We're the Slow-Mo Guys, or dudes. Slow-Mo Guys. The Slow-Mo Guys.
We ended up settling on the Slow-Mo Guys because around that time, vloggers were big and we wanted it to be about us as people and not necessarily about our gimmick. But I think the Slow-Mo Show and the Slow-Mo Guys are equally poor names for a YouTube channel. The intro video that we shot, which actually ends in a montage of our first few videos, was the very first video uploaded. And that file, to this date, is the biggest raw file we've ever made. And that's because, like a genius, I decided to shoot the whole thing on the Phantom, just so we could get literally 5 seconds of slow-mo where I slapped Dan in the face. The camera we were using was called the Phantom HD Gold. It had a 16GB memory, which gave us about 4 seconds of recording in HD. But there is a feature on all Phantom cameras that use Cinemags, where you can bypass the RAM and record straight onto the Cinemag at a much reduced speed.
What's the quality difference? 678. So as fast as it goes in 720p.
Which meant we could just run into the Cinemag for as long as we wanted until the Cinemag was full. And back then it was a 256 gig mag.
How long can this thing record for? I don't know. We're going to record it, so let's see that. Yeah.
But we ended up running for a few minutes, and that raw file is 156 gigabytes.
You've got the other camera recording as well. Alright. Yeah, no. Alright. Just like this. Oh! Awesome. Yeah? That was a good one as well. That's all in slow motion, the whole of that. Even of all the jobs I've done, this is the biggest file I've ever shot. Really? Because they've all been just like ram. Yeah. This is direct American recording.
The reason we've never surpassed that is because we always want to be recording at the fastest speeds possible, which we didn't for the intro. So we always record it into the internal memory. The Phantom Flex 4K that we often use has 64 gigs of RAM, and the 2511 that we often use, that's Destin's camera, has 96 gigs of RAM, which is why we've never since made a file bigger. However, Phantom do make cameras with much bigger memories. The 2512 and the 2640 are both capable of a 288 gigabyte internal storage. And we're going to be using those more in the future, so hopefully we'll break our record for biggest raw file. A byproduct of us shooting our intro that way is that the whole thing can be watched in slow motion if you wanted to do that. I wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty long. I started this channel for quite an odd reason. I wanted to move to the US, and Rooster Teeth, who I currently work for, were happy to hire me, but sadly I didn't qualify for any US work visa, considering I went straight into the film industry after the end of school, didn't go to university, had no degree. I found out about this visa called the O1 visa, which is for aliens of extraordinary ability, and I was reading this list of requirements. You have to meet several of them, and I didn't meet any of the requirements. But I also didn't have a degree, so I couldn't go in as a skilled worker. So I thought alien of extraordinary ability might actually be achievable if I start a YouTube channel using the high-speed cameras I already use most days and become well known enough to qualify for this visa. The channel took a while to get going. I'd say for the first 6 months, videos were getting about 20,000 views per episode, which I was very excited with at the time, going from, 0 views on anything ever. And then I had an epiphany of a video that I thought would get way more views. At the time, the most popular thing to film in slow motion was a balloon popping full of water, because the rubber whips out and you're just left with this orb of water just hanging in the air. Very common subject to film, and honestly it was one of the reasons we hadn't done it yet. But then I googled what's the biggest balloon you could buy, and I found this website called giantballoons.co.uk selling 6-foot balloons. I ordered it and I predicted that this would be the video that would take off. I remember showing a picture of it to Bernie, who wanted to hire me to work at Rooster Teeth, and I think his response was, "You're gonna break the camera." So I uploaded the video, and within a day it had 1 million views, continued going, and to this day it still gets views. It's now at over 170 million views. That video got me in the news. I was written about in newspapers. I did a live interview with Australian Breakfast TV talking about the video. It was talked about all over the place.
YouTube sensation has hit the net courtesy of the slow-mo guys. Amazing, isn't it? That was excellent.
So after all that happened, I looked at the requirements of this visa again, and I found that I met a few of them. So we put in an application to the US government, and immigration approved it and sent me back a visa that went in my passport. And then I packed all my stuff and I moved to the US at the beginning of 2012. I was very proud to get that visa because it was a dream of mine to work for Rooster Teeth in the US, and I didn't meet any requirements for the visa, but I was so determined to, and it was nice to prove that it wasn't a fluke. And it really just shows that if you put your mind to it, you can really achieve anything from nothing. You just might have to find a weird way to do it, and my weird way was a YouTube channel about slow motion. I don't want this one to sound like a brag, it's more of a I can't believe we did it considering the circumstances. We got to 10 million subscribers despite the fact that the only 2 people who work on the channel live on different continents and both have completely separate full-time jobs, which used to surprise a lot of YouTubers, and even staff at YouTube were surprised to find out that we don't do it full-time and we don't even really see each other that much. Hopefully that'll change in the future and we can both dedicate more time to it. We film a lot of stuff that doesn't come out. I would say our successful upload rate is around 50%. And that's actually gotten worse as time has gone on because I feel like we've increased the standard of the video we upload. Back in the day, I could upload something as simple as here's a hose squirting water on a fire. And nowadays, I don't think that would warrant its own video. That's not to say we don't still keep it simple sometimes. For example, a recent video was me just filming a TV. You can't really get more simple than that. I just filmed a TV in slow-mo. But I feel like if I'd have uploaded that 7 years ago, it would have just been the slow-mo footage and I wouldn't have gone to the same efforts to explain what was happening and give extra info. So here's a small montage of some failed videos. They either weren't good enough or they just didn't work. I've always wondered how many balloons you could shoot through with a gun. Oh, no way! No way! Right, hands have to be on the chair until it hits the table. Right. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Oh! Oh! Do you want like a raw egg or something? No! Yeah, go on. I've never done this before either. Oh god. Should I mix in with whiskey? The whiskey egg. That won't do anything. You ate the whole egg? Yeah, it's gone. Where's the yolk? Just went in. I feel better now. We settled your stomach with a raw egg. Oh, that's good. Oh. You want to set this one up? Let's just not do it. Oh no! Oh man! It's like smoking! Oh! I don't really know if that worked as well. Didn't really go very far, did it? No. Alright, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah.
Hell.
We didn't used to wear lab coats. Now that may be an obvious fact if you've been watching from the beginning. We didn't start wearing lab coats until about 2 years into the channel. We actually used to just wear our normal clothes. Except for the very first batch of videos we shot, which is the only time we've ever shot indoors. When I lived in the UK, I worked with this very talented cinematographer called Tony, who had a studio at the end of his garden, and he let me use it for the very first batch of videos. And I used to work in there all the time. We used to shoot a lot of slow motion stock footage. And I knew that on the back of his door was a lab coat, and I'd never seen him wear it. And I decided to wear it in the first batch of videos, but there was only one, so we decided that that was my costume, and Dan's costume would be sunglasses. We were still sort of working on the characters that we were going to play before we just decided to abandon it and both just be ourselves and both wear lab coats a couple of years later.
Well, this is the first time they're going to see us, alright? Is it quite funny that you've got like nothing, normal safety? Yeah, you have like a gas mask, like, yeah, how about like I've got ear defenders, goggles and this, and I'm like, you're not going to put any safety gear on or anything, you could just be like... yeah.
So in 2013 I put in the order for 2 custom lab coats, and I instinctively ordered 2 small lab coats because a small fit me, but Dan is a more medium/large guy, so he was immediately unhappy with the size of his lab coat, and I think that's why he hulked out of it at one time and wrecked the sleeve.
I could rip that. Just... Oh! You didn't even do it on camera! Oh no!
But ever since I've always found it funny that his lab coat doesn't really fit. And to this day, we still use those exact same lab coats unless we're on a different show or whether we know we're going to ruin it. Because I've become quite fond of them, even though Dan's at this point is just rags hanging off his body. We are one of the few channels, if not the only channel, to have 2 gold play buttons and 2 diamond play buttons for the same channel. And the gold one was due to an error. When I moved to the US, shortly after we hit 1 million subscribers, so when I submitted the form to receive the award, I put a US-based address where I lived. So that then went to a US-based YouTube team, but I hadn't told the UK-based team I used to deal with that I'd moved, and I think after 6 months of me not claiming the award there, they had one made, and then wondered why I hadn't collected it. So I had one in the US, and then there was this other one waiting in the UK. And it actually looks a bit different. It doesn't have the logo on it, it just has the slow-mo guys in black text. So that one's hanging up on the wall at Rooster Teeth, and the one I originally got is here with me. And the reason we have 2 diamond play buttons, well, just pop this out and watch that video right there. The slow-mo guys is very heavily influenced by MythBusters. When we first started shooting our first batch of videos, I wasn't really sure on the style that we were going for. I was such a massive fan of MythBusters when it was on. Everything about it I loved. The fact that Adam and Jamie had such great chemistry on screen, and they had their own characters. You would kind of know what one of them would do when presented with a situation and what the other one would do. I loved that about it. They also presented the idea from beginning to end, so showing the build, showing the failures, eventually shooting it, and then showing the reaction to it. All of those things were very important. I wanted to bring those into the slow-mo guys because I think there's nothing better than a real reaction on camera. So that's why when I'm queuing up phantom footage, I'll actually make Dan look away.
I'll be able to see your face when watching this now.
Alright, hold on, look away for a bit, I just want to save it.
Alright.
And I'll try and not look at it as much as possible. I'll queue it up, and we'll both watch it for the first time on camera because I feel like that gives the most natural reactions.
Oh no, what are we gonna do about it? We can't have that!
So hopefully you can see the influence, and hopefully Adam and Jamie know how important they've been to my career. We were once printed on the side of several double-decker buses in London.
You're on that bus.
Nuts!
What the hell? That's mental, look at it.
That was a YouTube campaign called Beacon, where they picked a few YouTubers and put them all up on billboards and buses and stuff.
You're about to get exploded.
Yeah, get back, about to get floofed on.
Okay, you ready? Yep. Lights. Set. Yep. Fire in 3, 2, 1. Lights.
Do a little spin. Yeah. Alright, now let me go. Alright, ready? Oh, hello. Yeah.
So that was very surreal. Definitely weird to see your face printed all massive. One of my favorite interactions of all time was when Dan and I were on the bus with our faces on. We were riding it to an event and it got stuck in traffic right in front of a Starbucks. And I looked into the Starbucks and I watched some guy nudge his friend, and they both looked at the bus and pointed at it and smiled, and I think he was probably like, oh look, slow-mo guys are on a bus. I'm making that up, I couldn't hear what he said. But then he looked right at me and I waved at him. And his face was just like, because he was looking at me while I was on a bus with my face on the side of it.
You must know this.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
What a weird interaction. And then we just drove off. We once shot a video so gruesome, we couldn't upload it. I think it definitely would have been flagged. And we were gonna originally sort of choreograph a bar fight where we bought these stunt glass bottles. You can buy the sugar glass bottles where, you know, you smash them over each other's heads and they just don't hurt very much because they're so thin. So we started off with a test and I just pulled out one of these sugar glass bottles. But I think what happened with this one is that they'd used too much of the resin, or the mold had pooled all of the liquid at the bottom. So most of the bottles were, you know, a few millimeters thick. But this one, the bottom was about an inch thick. And I just was like, all right, test one, and I whacked Dan in the side of the head with it, except the bottom came off in this massive thick chunk, and it made a gash in the top of his ear, and he was in a lot of pain, and I do feel awful about that. I should have inspected it before I hit him, and I shouldn't have hit him so close to his face. And we decided that it was just too gruesome to put up because blood was coming out on his shirt. I don't think I could even show it in this. I definitely can't show the slow-mo because you see it, you know, sort of cutting flesh. But here's some aftermath. It contains lots of swearing.
Oh, the bed!
Let's see your ear, B.
You killed!
Should we not do these?
Oh my god.
Cut your ear a little bit.
Is it? Sugar glass test one. Me! I have a flappy ear for the rest of my life. Walk around with this one flap hanging down. What's going on?
Tragically, that was the only bottle that was like that. All of the rest of them were fine, but it sort of put a bad taste in our mouth about making that video, so we never did. And then I left them in a shed that leaked and they all sort of melted, so if we do want to reshoot that video, I do have to get some more sugar glass bottles, and they're not cheap. Not cheap at all. You doing some scanning? And that's it, that's all the facts I have for this video. As you can see, I'm sitting on so much unused footage. I've actually recently been thinking about putting out, and it may sound a bit silly putting out physical media in 2018, but putting out a 4K UHD Blu-ray so you can watch the greatest episodes with a much higher bitrate, much less compression, and including a ton of never before seen footage. I feel like that's quite niche. Not everyone has a 4K TV or the ability to play a 4K disc. But let me know if you'd be interested in that kind of product. It's honestly something I want to make anyway. I want to be able to share the footage and have you see it the way I see it before it's put up for streaming, because as you know, streaming platforms compress footage like crazy just to get them to play over the internet. So I think it'll be quite interesting to have a disc out there. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Thank you very much for watching it, and a big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is a massive online learning community with thousands of online classes ranging from filming techniques, editing, lighting. The best thing to me about this service is that you can learn at your own pace, and the person you're learning from is always going to be an expert in their field, so you're always in great hands with these online classes. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to these classes, so you can either get better at the stuff that you love doing or learn something completely new altogether. I recommend, if you're into cameras and if you're into what we do on this channel, I recommend you start learning cinematography. Because Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 500 people who sign up using this link, it's clickable down below, will get the first 2 months of their subscription for free, which is lovely. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring it, and feel free to subscribe to the Slow Mo Guys.